Denmark is breaking with decades of restraint, arming itself with long-range missiles, staging Arctic war games, and bracing for a new era of great power rivalry. As Russian forces harden in the Arctic and Washington eyes Greenland's mineral riches, Copenhagen signals a paradigm shift in defence. From billion-dollar missile buys to live-fire drills on Greenland's icy coast, Denmark is drawing a bold red line in the North Atlantic, where US ambitions, Russian power, and Arctic frontiers collide. The world of international arms deals received a jolt on September 17th, as Denmark announced it will acquire long-range, high-precision weapons for the first time in an effort to deter Russia. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen on September 17th said that Russia would constitute a threat to Denmark for years to come, even if there is no imminent danger of an attack.
With these weapons, the defense forces will be able to hit targets at long range and, for example, neutralize enemy missile threats. This decision represented a paradigm shift in Danish defense policy.
Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen said the government would seek to build up missiles and drones, but did not specify which weapons.
We are in the process of a historic reconstruction of Danish defense, and it is natural that we are continuously looking at how we can best defend Denmark and contribute to the security of our allies.
The purchase is estimated at $9 billion of European-made air defense systems, marking the largest weapons purchase ever for the Scandinavian nation. In February, Frederiksen ordered the military to buy when moving ahead with a $7.9 billion expansion of military spending over the next 2 years, a dramatic reversal after decades of cuts. Denmark plans to procure 8 systems, including the long-range SAMP-T platform produced by Eurosam, a consortium of MBDA France, MBDA Italy and Thales, as well as medium-range systems manufactured by Norway, Germany or France. According to Reuters, Denmark this past year boosted its military budget to address acute shortcomings following Russia's Ukraine assault. Danish officials, as per CNN, have publicly joined the long-standing concerns of their NATO allies over Russian aggression in the icy waters to the country's north. Many officials also expect that if and when the Ukraine conflict ends, Russia will next divert resources and use its warfighting experience to pose a much greater threat in the Arctic region. But even with the threat of Russian military action looming, the answer to why Denmark is rapidly developing its military capacities is more likely to be found in Washington, D.C. than in Moscow or Beijing. Denmark is leading a military exercise with hundreds of troops from several European NATO members in Greenland, a maneuver that coincides with months of tensions over the Trump administration's desire for US jurisdiction over the vast Arctic territory. According to the Danish military, the Arctic Light 2025 exercise, which follows maneuvers with identical or similar titles in previous years, involves more than 550 service members from Denmark and NATO allies France, Germany, Sweden and Norway.
The Danish defense has the task to defend the Kingdom of Denmark, and that includes also Greenland and the Faroe Islands, and that is what we are going to do. So in order to defend Greenland, we have to train in Greenland, and that's what we are doing this last week and also this week where we train that.
The chief of Denmark's Joint Arctic Command pointed to wariness toward Russia as a regional superpower in the far north and highlighted what he called a very good relationship with the US military. On September 15th, Danish forces trained boarding ships with special forces as military observers from the United States, Britain, Canada, Sweden and Germany looked on. The guests from allied nations aboard the Danish frigate Niels Juel saw Danish F-16 fighter jets fly by, as well as live-fire exercises. Denmark has launched military exercises in Greenland aimed at boosting the operational readiness of its armed forces and the island's defences. The drills, conducted with Allied forces, focused on strengthening joint response capabilities to counter potential threats in the North Atlantic and Arctic regions. Denmark is moving to strengthen its military presence around Greenland and in the wider North Atlantic. Earlier, in January, the Danish government announced a roughly $2.3 billion agreement with parties, including the governments of Greenland. In the Arctic Light exercise, launched on September 9th and continuing till September 19th, Denmark has deployed a frigate, 2 F-16 fighter jets, 2 helicopters, and troops from all 3 branches of its armed forces, including special operations units. France has joined with a naval vessel, a tanker aircraft, and mountain infantry supported by drones. However, the Danish military didn't mention the current tensions with Washington in announcing the exercise, and the chief of Denmark's Joint Arctic Command pointed to good relations with the American military. Søren Andersen, commander of the Danish military on September 15th, told AP that they have worked with the US for decades in exercises and also operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, and so on. This year's Arctic Light is taking place against a backdrop of growing wariness toward Russia in the region.
They can do that. It's part of the 51 treaty that they have the possibility to expand their activities up here if they want to or need to, and I don't think that would be a problem. I think all of us that works in this business think that Russia will use resources elsewhere than in Ukraine, and it will also be in the Arctic area, I think. So there's a threat, not a threat today, but a future threat we are looking into.
Greenland's icy expanse is bracing for great power competition, but the most immediate pressure may not come from Moscow or Beijing. President Donald Trump has repeatedly declared his ambition to bring the mineral-rich island under US jurisdiction, refusing to rule out military force. Denmark and Greenland have flatly rejected any sale and rebuked Washington after reports that operatives linked to Trump carried out covert influence efforts. Danish commanders acknowledged that Russia's war experience and China's Arctic ventures warrant vigilance. Yet they stressed that Greenland's harsh terrain renders the island virtually unconquerable, suggesting Trump's designs pose the sharper test of Danish resolve.